And this is in a totally fascinating series of studies that were done over the years showing just how little conscious cognition might play out in us humans in some really critical realms, which is who you decide you are interested in mating with. Okay, so how does that work in humans? All sorts of different ways, but here's one way in which it does something interesting. And this was a classic study done by an anthropologist named Joseph Scheffer, and this is what he did. He studied people who grew up in Israel on kibbutzes. Kibbutzes, these are these traditional socialist sort of communes where none of them are like this anymore, but one of the early principles was one parent as good as another parent. All the kids are raised in these big communal bathtubs together, and it's one big sort of socialist Torah dance of everybody bathing naked together. And what Scheffer found was this very interesting thing, which is you are brought up in your age group. All the kids born this year are raised in the same communal group, and they take their baths together and they play together, and they've got the same one parent takes all of them for one afternoon every Tuesday afternoon, and the next one comes for the next shift, and this big communal business there. And what Scheffer discovered was if you were raised in the same age group as somebody anywhere up to 6 years of age, you never ever wind up marrying them. And this was not with a sample, an appropriate sampling. This was a study he did of every individual who ever grew up in the kibbutz system in Israel. We appear to have a rule as follows. If this is somebody who you spent a whole lot of time with before 6 years of age, this is someone who you sure don't want to grow up and marry. Yuck, I mean, you love them, they're incredible, but they feel like my sister, they feel like my brother. Whoa, that would be totally grotesque. There's never been a case of people brought up during grow up in your first 6 years of life taking a whole lot of baths with someone, and you are not going to discover an amorous passion for them when they're 20 years old. They're going to feel like a sibling for you for the rest of your life. What is that telling us? We have a very non-cognitive strategy in there. Yes, who are relatives? Who are appropriate people to mate with? Well, if we know that this is the daughter of mom's sister, then this person is not appropriate, and this whole cognitive, spend a whole lot of time naked with somebody taking baths and playing patty cake and counting their toes the first 6 years of life, they feel like a sibling. Something very similar was then shown by Arthur Wolf here in the anthropology department, a different cultural version, traditional Taiwanese marriages, where there's some equivalent of that, and where either you wind up with your future spouse at some insanely early age and basically get brought up with them from infancy, or it happens later, and if you're brought up from infancy with them, you have a disastrous marriage later on because they feel like a sibling for the rest of your life. So what this shows us here is, yes, we are these wonderful, rational, cognitive machines. We've got all sorts of innate strategies and sensory imprinting stuff going on instead in us. We are not a whole lot fancier than hamsters.